Okay, so good morning, everyone. To formally start our forum for this morning, may we give the time to Jed for our opening prayer. Thank you, Jed. To our dear learning professor, Sir Rondel Paraiso, students, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The long wait is over and we are finally here. Today we are gathered to discuss different issues which will be presented to us by our dear presenters. So without further ado, let's get this started. Starting on with Miss Precious Jane Pagasian to present to us freedom of speech and censorship.
Okay, wait. Nakadunggan ko? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
Okay, share ako screen and I'll see if you share. Magkakita, everyone.
Naano to
Wala
ganina pero
pre.
nawala.
Oh no. Wait, let me try again. How about that one?
Yes,
Yakakita.
yes.
Okay, please let me know if mag-start na ang timekeeper.
Okay,
Hello. Okay,
ready?
yeah, ready.
And start.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I was tasked to discuss about freedom of expression and censorship. I would really take time to say sorry first if I may not be able to finish this presentation, but I will really try my best to finish it for 5 minutes. First, by definition, I will be discussing what freedom of expression and censorship is. Freedom of expression, by definition, refers to the ability of an individual or group of individuals to express their beliefs, thoughts, ideas, and emotions about different issues free from government censorship. While, on the other hand, censorship is the suppression of speech, public communication, or other information on the basis that such material is considered objectionable and so much more. Censorship can be conducted by governments, private institutions, and other controlling bodies. With that, censorship may violate freedom. Conduction of censorship may violate freedom of expression. It is very clear from the very beginning in the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 3, Bill of Rights, Section 4 stated that no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech or of expression or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. Also, this government or the present administration have secured and assured the Filipino people through a press statement by the Presidential Communications Operation Office or the PCOO, Mr. Martin Andanar, said that this government values every Filipino's freedom of speech and expression, knowing that they are truly vital toward a free flow of information and constructive and productive discourses, especially during these trying times of pandemic. For the universal approach, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights also stated in Article 19 that everyone has the right to the freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. For example, enjoying or having the right of freedom of expression is having to express your views aloud through public protests and demonstration or through public articles, books or leaflets, television or radio broadcasting. As of now, we have social media, which is a very platform for news sending and also of work of art. For example, a violation of the freedom of speech, I took some case which is both domestically and internationally taken, the cyber libel case of Rappler CEO Maria Ressa. The president and his supporters have accused her and her site Rappler of reporting fake news. In a country, the Philippines, where journalists are a threat, Ressa's case became symbolic and closely followed. What was she accused of? She was accused of fake news, um, together with her co-writer and the Rappler, and she was and they were um, penalized minimum of 6 months and 1 day to a maximum of 6 years in jail. It allowed them to post bail pending on appeal. They are the first two journalists in the Philippines to be convicted for cyber libel. I will quickly share a few about censorship. Internet censorship happens right across the world. Um, it is very um, it is very evident that internet censorship is very evident in Korea, where no person can access the internet. And also, you may not know, China also have internet censorship that they cannot access Facebook due to the decision of their government. Some countries in the world that shows censorship in internet today are what I said: North Korea, Cuba, Burma, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and China. Some reasons why censorship in internet occurs is because of their terrorism, economy, and so much more. To end my presentation, I was asking and I was contemplating if do we really have freedom of speech or is it just an illusion? In order to become responsible citizens, we must resolve to uphold the highest standards in practicing our freedom of speech. We may we must set up systems of communication which will force people to take responsibility and for what they say or write, make them have the opportunity to make correction and apologies, and make them lose their credibility if they are repeatedly exposed as violating that freedom. And that would be all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Precious. So, by the way, if you have questions, you may give it to our facilitator, and we will entertain questions later on. And now, let us give the time to our second presenter for the privacy and security, Miss Nicole Marie Pama.
Good morning, everyone. Ako sa i-share ako screen. Wait lang. Magkita? Magkita,
Yes,
guys?
yes, Nicole.
Yes pa, makita pa. But what is this?
Oh my gosh, ano man ni?
Hindi ka pa.
Mura siya naikan.
Nagka,
Dimension char.
Illusion.
Ano man ni? Guys lang.
Sige lang, dito sa PowerPoint ko. Oh no.
Kajut lang, Jud. Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Okay na, makita?
Yes
Yes.
pa, makita na pa.
Okay. Are we?
Okay. 5 minutes start now.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I was tasked to report about privacy security. So, I will first start by asking what is privacy? So, in the Philippines, privacy is traditionally viewed as a person's rights against unreasonable seizure, which is the person's rights over his or her house, office, or any place where he or she has expectation of privacy, wherein the state or the government cannot enter without warrant. So this was the original. I cannot say original, but the the traditional meaning of privacy. However, developments in technology brought about information privacy, the person's right to control information about him or her in context of social media. In context of social media, this refers to a person's selective control over who accesses his or her personal information. So I will be discussing three types of privacy. Privacy of communication and information privacy. So first is privacy. For most, privacy means personal privacy, the right of individuals not to have their home, private life, or personal life interfered with. So for each privacy, I searched about cases which are only domestically here, cases I found in the Philippines. So for this privacy, this case summary is based on an in-depth case study mapping women's experience of technology related. And the original case study from the Philippines was documented by country researchers. This specific case. So there, Ruby was a 21-year-old model, actor, and brand endorser, which was involved with a secret affair with her doctor. Like all affairs, hotel rooms were their go-to. So months after their separation, she received news that videos of their activities were posted online. So this case talks about how Ruby's private life was exposed and video tapped without her knowledge inside the safety of their hotel room, where she thought the things done would stay there. So that is one example of the privacy. So next is privacy of communication. This refers to the protection from interference with communication over the internet, over the phone or internet. Respect for privacy of communication is an essential prerequisite for the maintenance of human relationship via technological communications media. So the example I have of this is the case called Hello Garci tapes. This was widely known in 2004 to 2005 because the Hello Garci tapes refers to the alleged wiretapped conversations where vote rigging in the 2004 elections was discussed by by a woman presumed to be President Arroyo and a man presumed to be Comelec Commissioner Virgilio Garciliano. It was, which was ironic because it was presidential spokesperson Ignacio Bunye who revealed the tapes. So this case talks about the violation of the Republic Act 4200, which was the anti-wiretapping law. Because it this because the conversation between two people over the phone was was recorded and heard by a third party, which both people that were the subject of the phone call did not know. So that is one example of privacy of communication. Next is information privacy. So, information privacy is related to the use of computers and communication systems which are able to hold and process information about large numbers of people at high speed. It is important to ensure that information will only be used for purposes for which it was gathered and will not be disclosed to others without consent of the individuals. So, in the Philippines, we have a Republic Act called, I know, we have an act called Data Privacy Act of 2012. So, um, the case I'm about to tell you is the first verdict, the first the first case ever to 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 use this act. So it was stated in the information that the accused, being a customer care professional of a multinational BPO company in the Philippines, unlawfully, willfully, and feloniously accessed and processed without authority the account of one of said company's American clients' accounts by enrolling it to Express Cash and issuing a temporary PIN for the said account for the unauthorized purpose of withdrawing $500 from the said account, which was in violation of Section 28 of Republic Act number 1010, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act. So, this tells us that um, the accused used the information of the client unknowingly and even used the information to withdraw money, which on which the person didn't know. Um, they did it without the consent of the client. So from the three cases that I told you, it definitely talks about how the owner or the people involved or the people targeted were not aware of the things that the accused were the accused were doing. um, this tells us that privacy is very um, hard to achieve nowadays because of technology. So that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nicole.
Wait sa, wait sa, Asha. Can you like talk if 1 minute remaining na lang or if time's up?
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Nicole. So to give ourselves some break, let us watch an intermission video by Jedi Ion.
What's your name? What was your name? Alex. There you go, Johnny.
If you like our Facebook page, we give you a free hot drink and a free pastry.
We have a new like Stadium. We have a new like Stadium. Hi there, can I help?
Just like your Facebook page. Okay, I'll search Facebook. I'll search Google. Phone number. I've got his email address.
Okay, Carly, are you ready for information on Damien?
Yep, yeah.
Mother's maiden name is he bangs with
Carly, this is the girl coming in now with the scarf.
What's your name? Nicholas.
Nicola. His date of birth, 7th May. She lives at 38A.
Just be a couple of seconds.
2 children, 8 and the previous address. She's got the postcode.
Yeah, got it. Damien, age 26, I'm a fitness instructor. Where did you go to UCL? After we went to South Kent's College, assistant psychologist at Great Ormond Street. Oh, better. Oh, yeah, we know everything about you, Martin. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Anna from Russia.
Thank you, Jed. And now let us move on to the discussion of surveillance and data retention by Jed Diayan.
Okay, good morning once again, everyone. Timekeeper, please let me know once mag-start na.
Okay. Ready?
Okay.
5 minutes start now.
Okay, so my topic is surveillance and data retention, or data. It can be interchangeable. So what is surveillance and data retention? It is also called records of retention. It is the continued storage of an organization's data for compliance or business reasons. An organization may retain data for several different reasons. Such a policy is simply a set of guidelines that describes which data will be archived and how long it will be kept. If you're wondering what's the difference between Nicole's topic, which is privacy, and my topic, which is data and surveillance retention, it mostly involves business entities or other entities, government entities. You could say that Nicole's topic also includes government and business entities, but this has more of a legal effect on a person. So what are some of the laws? Here are some of them. Cybercrime law, Human Security Act, E-Commerce Act, Anti-Wiretapping Act, Data Retention Law or Data Privacy Act of 2012, which was also discussed by Ms. Nicole Pama, Mandatory Data Retention Policy, and Anti-Wiretapping Act. So I will not go through all of them, but I will go through some key points on significant laws. So the Anti-Wiretapping Act. So it was enacted on the 19th of June, 1969. This is the first law regulating communication surveillance in the Philippines. So there's also data retention law. I will specifically encounter section 19D. First, retention personal data shall only for as long as necessary for the fulfillment of the declared, specified, and legitimate purpose, or when the processing of relevant to the purpose has been determined. So I will not go through all of that, but you get the point. Here's another one. Data retention policy. A data retention policy is a recognized and proven protocol within an organization for retaining information for operational use while ensuring adherence to the laws and regulations concerning them. This law specifically is like the preamble for business entities using data privacies. For example, when you accept the terms of services of a certain app or a certain website, that's when you give in your information. So these are the set of guidelines that businesses, entities, and certain websites use for data retention. So what are some examples of data retention being breached or abused? So here is one. In the UK, 2019, a woman was jailed for 5 months after pictures of her partying in Ibiza emerged on social media. She had previously sued the NHS for £2.5 million after surviving a botched operation. To keep it short, she had a surgery, a botched surgery, which is what something like a quack doctor had operated on her, and then she was a shadow of her former self. So she was not able to perform tasks that she would normally do. So she sued the NHS. But because her social media accounts were posted, they posted otherwise. The judges argued that the pictures suggested otherwise. So she was mostly lying, and this was found out due to her social media. Whether you find it justice or injustice, which side you're on, that is an example of data and surveillance retention, a breach of them. So another one, back in 2009, a case of
1 minute.
Natalie Blancard, a woman in Quebec, had lost her disability insurance benefits on depression because she looked too happy on her Facebook. So and a summary of this is that she was given a 1 year leave from her company because she was suffering from from depression. But her social Facebook post suggested that she was too happy. So there was a breach in her privacy and her data because of her data retention, and then she had lost her disability insurance benefits. So that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jed. And now we will move on to E-Pollutants from E-Waste by Marla Gapas.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, should I click the present now para maka...
Yes, yes.
Okay. Makita ninyo ang PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be presenting the e-pollutants from e-waste. So on Samajdar's and Vibery post, Electronic Pollution, the upcoming environmental concern, he stated that people and experts have never failed in spreading awareness about the pollution we have always known about, such as air pollution, water pollution, soil and noise pollution. However, he stated that electronic pollution, which is what I will be talking about today, is often overlooked and not given the attention and concern it so deserves, especially on this age when electronics and technology are basically what helps this world work on the pace it runs on today. So before anything else, we'll start off with the definition of electronic pollution, which is a form of pollution caused by the discarded electrical or electronic devices, which are referred to as e-waste or electronic waste, which includes but are not limited to electronic devices destined for reuse, resale, salvage, recycling, or disposal due to varying reasons. So according to AMED 2016, the increase in consumption of electronics has two major adverse ecological effects. First, it significantly increases mining and procurement for the materials needed for production of gadgets. And second, discarded devices produce large quantities of electronic waste. Economically speaking, Ahmed also mentioned that people replace things such as smartphones, tablets, laptops, LEDs, DVD players, and other gadgets, whether from breakdown, slowdown, or availability of a newer model. People discard electronics at the slightest inconvenience. So basically, this form of pollution is preventable as it is caused by man's activities that can be highly controlled and avoided with proper measures and knowledge. So here, as the Great Lakes Electronics Corporation stated, the main issue of disposing computers and other electronic waste is that they contain toxic materials such as metallic constituents like lead, tin, antimony, mercury, nickel, cadmium, other metals like arsenic, barium, rare earth materials, beryllium, selenium, and other organic pollutants such as polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs, flame retardants, polybrominated diphenyl ethers or PBDEs, and refrigerant gases. All these contaminants, when released into the environment, will cause damage to the different systems of the human body and also poses threats to animals. So we have here two pictures, which is a situation in Guyu, China, which is the which is a city in southeastern China, which is the largest e-waste recycling site in the world, at least last 2013, and the city's residents exhibit substantial digestive, neurological, respiratory, and bone problems. For example, 80% of Guyu's children experience respiratory ailments and are especially at risk of lead poisoning. So we have here some legislative enforcements. So we have here in California, which is the Universal Waste Rule, which intended to ensure certain hazardous wastes are managed safely and not disposed of in the trash. European Union also played its role with its adoption of
1 minute.
Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment Directive. And also in the Philippines, most importantly, we have the Republic Act 9003, or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, and the Republic Act 6969. And so some solutions we have, according to CHO 2018, is to design better products, an individual to have the right to repair, extended producer responsibility, more convenient and better recycling, and the goal of a circular economy. We also have the 3 R's of e-waste, which is the refurbish, repurpose, and redesign. And so the pollution caused by e-waste has already been affecting the globe for decades already, and continuing initiatives and finding new solutions cannot immediately stop this challenge. However, we must remember that slow progress is still progress. As individuals who are affecting and are at the same time affected by these incidents, we must each do what we can, however small they are, because if we add up each of our small things, they will become big and great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Gapas. And now we will be entertaining questions. So, so first question is from first question is from Grape, Dobslle, Leono for Mr. Jedi Iron. So the question is this: why is data retention important?
Data retention is important because it involves our personal information. If we were to give out our personal information, we would be susceptible to many crimes and many vulnerabilities. If we were to retain our giving our information, then we would have we would have much more security and much more much more accessibility to what we can do and what we are, what safeties uh, are present to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next question is for Marla. Can the electronic company develop a safe disposal of hazardous waste since they should be responsible for the management of their own waste?
Oh, yes. They can, and actually, we have here the. So yes, they can. So each company, like for example, in Japan, which is the, let's say, the biggest country which produces the gadgets, they have adopted some laws. So yeah, where is it? I'll read it for. So in Japan, where is it? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, here. So the electronic product manufacturer leader, which is Japan, which produces high percentage of worldwide produces, enacted the specified home appliance recycling law, which they, like for example in Japan, when a particular person will buy a particular gadget, they would have the responsibility to to choose whether after they discard it, they would bring it back to the company. Like for example, so the company will then be able to recycle the remaining parts of the phone. For example, if we are talking about the phone. So instead of discarding it or like putting it in the trash, they could reuse some parts and use it to make another phone. And then the discarded parts, which would be the remaining parts that wouldn't be used, would then be discarded properly depending on their regulations of the company.
Okay, thank you. And now here's a question from Julius Kabelugan for Miss Nicole Pama. Is there anything we can do with hackers invading privacy? I mean, what are those punishments subjected to these people who committed such offensive act? Again, is there something we can do with hackers invading privacy? And what are these punishments subjected to these people who committed such offensive act?
Okay, thank you. So, saglit lang. You see, when you start using the internet, you are always prone to hackers. Di na siya malikayan. So if you want to avoid hackers or you don't want your private information leaked, you should do the proper things that would not so that will not happen. For example, you do not share your personal information with anyone. Um, you do not you shouldn't use the same password for every account too. So because that makes it easy for hackers to access your information, and you need to limit the personal information you share on social media. So this is one of the things that the millennials usually do nowadays. So in order for
I question.
so so
Sorry.
and
I
next
didn't mean.
is next is so yeah. So for the next question, what are those punishments subjected to these people who commit such just like Jed said earlier, there are a lot of laws that you that you can use for hackers, which just like Cybercrime Prevention Act, Data Privacy Act, and also for the 1987 Constitution, there are also acts there which state to which states a person's to protect a person's privacy though. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, let's move on to Miss Precious Pagasi. And this question is from Jana Sario. Is music censorship a violation of freedom of speech? Again, is music censorship a violation of freedom of speech?
Oh, hi, Jana. Thank you so much for the question. Let me repeat. Is music censorship a violation of freedom of
Freedom of
expression
speech.
or freedom of speech? Yeah.
Freedom of speech.
I say personally, I haven't read any article about music censorship, but personally, I would say that yes, it is a violation of freedom of speech because freedom of speech comes in many forms. May it be in through vocal, printed media, and art. And I would say music is an art. It belongs to the category of art. And yes, it is a violation of freedom of speech once a country or a certain group of people is censored with music. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Um, next question is next question is for Jed from Miss Desiree Trazona. What is the impact of data breaching to an organization? Again, what is the impact of data breaching to an organization?
Okay, thank you for the question. There's a great impact when data is breached to an organization, company, a business entity, government entity, or whatever. It's a significant impact. I forgot to mention earlier that remember when you remember if you download an app, it asks for your terms and service to accept their terms and service and guidelines. The the same thing happens to a company. So they have your information, they have your data, they have your accounts, etc., passwords, and not only yours, but that this also includes other people. Imagine one business entity having thousands of accounts from other people. So if there were to be a data breach, it would impact not only the business but also the people whose accounts are being held to by that entity. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jed. Next question is for Miss Marla. This is from Mr. Alpher Casinabe. The question is, what is the biggest impact of e-waste to the society? Again, what is the biggest impact of e-waste to the society?
So for the biggest impact of e-waste on the society, there are various factors that are affected, like economically, like I've stated, na citizens will then be, as citizens have the responsibility to have the effect on the e-waste production in the environment, so environmental too, ecological, and yeah, so the biggest impact would then be generally it will be on the environment because the environment is basically everywhere. So if it is affected, everything will then be affected, like the health of the people, which is mostly the biggest risk that the world could then be affected, since the people are the major movers of everything that happens on earth. And so that, yeah, so that will be on the health of the people. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Uh, next is for Marla again from Miss Julie Lugong. Are there any possible ways to encounter or prevent the massive production of e-waste? Again, are there any possible ways to counter or to prevent the massive production of e-waste?
Okay, so for today, it would not be prevention, at least since there is still a massive amount of e-waste that should be discarded properly. So it will be on the countering or fighting it off. So just like what I've mentioned earlier about the solutions, so we have here for the company to design better products, since the reason that most people discard a lot of e-waste is that the the gadgets that the companies produce, they encourage us to buy newer products almost every year. Like for example, the Apple company, they they manufacture new models like almost every year. So then basically, as consumers, we are forced in a way to buy newer models. And then of course the old phones that we have would then be just put in the trash, which would lead to e-waste. And then we have here the extended producer responsibility. So we as citizens should own up to our responsibility to be cost effective in a way na if we buy gadgets or any other electronic devices, we should make sure that we will use them until they break, not because we want newer models or other reasons other reasons like that. And so then it will be very helpful if the government could, since nga gahatag na lang man galing sila og chance for people to be educated, why not educate people to how to recycle properly e-waste, like for the 3 R's then by Nishizawa, which is the refurbish, repurpose, and redesign. Of course, so the waste would then be, instead of waste, they will mabuhat pa nato sila into for better purposes. So for refurbish, they would then be used like what I've said sa Japan, the katong mga materials nga pwede pa ma-use is to use again for another gadget, repurpose. So katong mga chips, we could use them for other things and the redesign. So yeah, that.
Okay, thank you. So, I would like to apologize since there are a lot of questions that are being raised, and we are running out of time. So we are down to our last two questions for a while. Okay, next question is for Miss Nicole Tama. Was the wiretapping incident in the Hello Garcia scandal during the 2004 presidential elections legal? Why or why not? Again, this is for Miss Nicole Pama from Miss Arian Padrones. Was the wiretapping incident in the Hello Garcia scandal during the 2004 presidential elections legal? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question. The um the case about the Hello Garcia, um as a whole, um the sorry, uh it is di siya it's not considered as legal, pero but in the case of but oh no, did I sorry, let me go again. Um the Hello Garcia scandal, was in fact an illegal act if it investigates the anti-wiretapping law. But because it because the anti-wiretapping law protects the individual, because like I said, because like I said, the anti-wiretapping law is when you eavesdrop or you listen to conversations of people, right? Pero in this case, um the Hello Garci does not apply. The wiretapping law does not apply in this case because this involves the national interest rather than only this involves national interest rather than private interest, because like I said, the Hello Garci was was the alleged vote rigging, diba? So because on the rights of the parties involved, President Arroyo nor Garciliano sued any person involving the tapes. So because of that, di gid siya matawag na there's an illegal act going on. Okay, ay naa pero because wala gikuan because it wasn't gikuan sa court ni either ni President Arroyo or ni Garciliano, it wasn't it wasn't raised in terms of anti-wiretapping law. But if you also consider the wiretapping law, it would be presidential spokesperson um Ignacio Bonye, who was supposed to go to jail because he was the one um who released the tape the audio to the public. So yes, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here is our last question for mm, Miss Precious Pagasian from Miss Charime Pahangin. What are the negative effects of censorship? Again, what are the negative effects of censorship?
Oh, thank you so much for that question, especially nga dili siya gikan sa among group. It's very nice. Okay. Um, there is very evident effects on having censorship in a certain country. It is you can see in North Korea, they do not have any access to the internet at all because of Park Soon. I don't know the one who governs them. Um, they tend to be politically unaware of the situation, uh, not just of their country but of the international affairs. They are not aware of it, and also they are not aware of the trends. Not that they need to, but it happens to they cannot adapt to change because they can't access the internet. They do not have access of information. They do not have access to other people to communicate with to improve their living. So that leads to economic a decrease of economic growth, which is a great impact to a country. But somehow North Korea and China is having a stable economy and trying to supply all the needs of their people. But yeah, there are a lot of negative effects to the country or a certain group of people with having the censorship of internet. But we may not also see that they have good effects on them. We may not see it, but I think personally, I think there are a lot of also a lot of good things that brought to the country having the censorship in the internet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we will move on to the concluding statements of our presenters. So I will not be calling your names anymore, but we will but the presenters, please state their concluding statements as follows. So first to present His or her concluding statement would be Miss Marla Gapas, followed by Jed, followed by Nicole, and then the last would be Precious. So these your concluding statements for this forum. Miss Gapas.
Oh, okay. So, yes, just like what I've said a while ago, so this electronic pollution, which is caused by the e-waste production in the environment, is very significant in today's society, but it is often overlooked. So it will really be nice for everyone to do each of our part, since the government is a, a wider entity to really address this issue. So we must start with ourselves to start this particular change in the environment, since the effects of this pollution is detrimental to our health. So even if the the root place of this pollution is far from us, since the metallic constituents that affect this pollution can be brought to us through air and water or soil, it will really be helpful to be knowledgeable and educated on this particular issue.
Thank
That's
you.
all. Thank you.
Okay, for my
Next, Mr. Jed.
okay. For my concluding statement, I apologize, medyo taas gid siya. Um, the government recognizes, wait. Okay. The government recognizes the people's needs for surveillance and data retention. However, in this time of social media and internet, keeping one's private life a secret is a struggle for many and can be seen as not an issue for some. In the words of Bo Burnham, American comedian, musician, actor, filmmaker, and poet, I don't think that anyone isn't a performer. Social media, it's just the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time, for no reason. It's prison, it's horrific. It is performer and audience melded together. I know very little about anything, but what I do know is that if you can live your life without an audience, you should do it. Thank you.
You. Next.
Okay, so my closing statement would as technology becomes an increasingly integral part of our daily lives, questions about privacy and security are on the rise because keeping your information, your private data, and your finances even can be really difficult nowadays. So now more than ever, as our physical and digital footprints grow exponentially, we need to take personal actions to preserve our freedom and most of all, our privacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Okay, wait. Nakalungan ko?
Yes.
Okay. I, I would like to end my talk with a few insights and few realizations after creating or having it to research this topic. The internet has played an important part in the recent, let me just give an intent to the political crisis in the Philippines. Freedom of speech is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world. It is often misunderstood due to people's many and varied interpretations and application of the concept, especially here in the Philippines. Filipinos cannot get around to understanding what the words or ideas and opinions convey. There are some who think that obscenities are included in ideas and opinions, so a netizen uses social media to attack an individual thinking that he or she has the freedom of speech to do so. Sad to say that the mass media, which should be the bastion of responsible use of freedom of speech, is also its most frequent violator. More often than not, they display bias and can serve as tools for the powerful in swaying the public opinion, as well as in destroying the reputation of others. As cliche as it may seem, No matter how much we say na gas-gas na kayo ni na line, but I would like to remind everyone that always and always think before you click. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear presenters. And I would like to give everyone a virtual applause for being here this morning. So we have here the voices of our presenters on these underlying issues. And yes, some of these issues are overlooked nowadays. Sad to say they are overlooked. But hence, we have to make ourselves knowledgeable. We have to make ourselves informed of these issues. Um, in order for us to avoid being involved, to avoid being a victim, and to make ourselves responsible enough for in this generation and for a better generation. So once again, thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you for sparing your time to participate, and I hope we've learned something and we've got something from our presenters this morning. Thank you, and once again, good morning.
Thank you so much, everyone.